Hello, it is Niemira from VanFUNDING Vancouver conference, and right now we have a pleasure to talk to Toufi Saliba of TODA Network, CEO and founder of the company. Hello Toufi, how are you?
Thanks, how are you?
Yes. Great to have you here. Thank you for being and speaking at the conference, and you talked about the blockchain, you talked about everything what is needed and the key points which everyone has to follow to keep the new technology on track. So Sam, when we're talking about blockchain, some love it and some unfortunately don't. So what is truly the future of blockchain? Is blockchain a future?
Well, first if you need to address why some people love it and some people don't, it's because there are a lot of folks describing the blockchain not for what it really is, either because they don't understand it or because they're lying, because they have some sort of agenda. And that is certainly hurting what the technology is there to bring to humanity. It's just a technology that can truly be revolutionary. And the current explanations of it is missing. So that's from one end. From another perspective, the current blockchains that are out there, they lack security, they lack efficiency, along with confidentiality. This is what I talked about today, the five missing technological elements that the blockchain needs if it truly becomes disruptive and revolutionary. And they're basically security, efficiency, confidentiality, scalability, and interoperability.
Yes.
Not a single blockchain out there has all of those five components. Not even the first four. Yet many, they are racing towards the fourth without necessarily having the first three. And that's very disappointing because the technology can be revolutionary. Now, that's speaking about facts.
Yes.
Those are facts. Anyone who tells you what I've just told you they are wrong, they're wrong. Because what I just told you, they're facts and not based on an opinion. Okay? Now, if we were to speak about the opinion of what's yet coming, and if I were to talk about the future, that would be an opinion. Based on my perception of what I have seen so far, is that we've seen the entire blockchain movement that got a lot of people to be excited about it, and the whole FOMO effect. That's more like a tiny little wave. What's yet to come is a tsunami. What we have seen barely got to 0.2% of the global penetration, not even, less than 0.2% based on any standards. Less than 0.2% of the population, less than 0.2% of the money, and so on and so forth. What's yet to come is getting to the remaining 99.8%. And with that, a lot of folks, that they're going to hear this talk, they're going to remember in the future, saying like, holy shit, we really missed on it again. Because what they thought they missed on last year, they didn't miss on anything. That was the fluff. But what's yet to come is the real thing. They're going to miss on.
To those five key points which you mentioned, I would add one more: usability. That usability comes.
It's necessary as well. I agree with you that it's necessary, but I'm not sure it's missing, because we have seen usability that was done with a lot of platforms that they were able to get distribution across the globe, whether it is money, whether it is real estate, whether it is social networks, whether it is search engines. We've seen the usability being done at all of those fronts. And I'm not sure that is actually missing.
But also at the same time, like usability, like just generally for the public even to understand what blockchain means, because even if you have the best product, unless it's truly usable by the public and it's used globally, it doesn't have that much impact. So what is generally noticed that there's still like a lot of education needed in regards to expansion. So for people even to understand what the blockchain is, how to use blockchain, because blockchain right now is just like it's sticking to the technology people, and it's like pertaining. That's why at the same time, in order to grow, it needs to actually expand it beyond those borders. It needs to be usable by everyone and understand.
Okay.
So how important is the
mean.
education? How important is the education in general for people to learn, not just technical force, but just generally the public, to make it more blockchain accessible and applicable?
I don't think that is important to the public. I don't think the regulatory thing is important, and I truly think that the usability does exist but cannot be adopted. So I agree with you that it's not there in the current blockchain space, because it cannot be adopted without those 5 that I have mentioned.
Okay.
At least without the first 4, it cannot. The current developers, they know how to build things to be usable because they've built it before, and you've seen them build it. If they come in to build it on the existing blockchains, they cannot, because then they have to rely on certain centralized elements, which defeats the whole purpose of existing, of what we're trying to accomplish.
Yes.
If those 5 are addressed, they're able to bring in the usability, and if the usability is brought in, then it satisfies, I guess, all the 6 that we're trying to address here.
Yes. So besides those points which you mentioned, like for the global application, because blockchain is supposed to be borderless, it's supposed to be easily used, but what it stands on those borders, they are like singular regulations pertaining to every single country. How this can change, how this can be adjusted, for the blockchain truly global application?
Yeah, so due to the limitations of those 5, which I'm big on saying that regulations and regulators, they are not the ones that they're stopping this. They can't. A true decentralized system is immune to regulators. In fact, it is self-regulated. A true decentralized system, in order for it to be decentralized, in order for it to actually get the adoption, it has to do things properly. The same way, when you inhale oxygen, there's an exchange that happens between oxygen and carbon dioxide, and that thing is alveolus capillary protocol that exists in the lungs. Your brain cannot control that, no matter how hard you try. Billions of those exchanges, they happen every second in your lungs today. There is no regulator in your body or in your government can actually regulate that. It works every single time. It's self-regulated. That is a true decentralized system. Self-regulated, it does its job and it does it well. So first it's self-regulated, and second it's immune to regulators. They can't do anything about it. Now guess what's going to happen? When you have those components, regulators will follow. They did follow when the internet came. They didn't come to stop it. Maybe they try in some early days, but eventually something like that will make it across.
That's great. Well, I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to the future of blockchain, new technologies. Toufi, thank you so much for being with us here, and enjoy the rest of the conference.
Thank you so much,
Thank you
Anna.
very much.
Thanks. Take care.
Thanks.